I'm Jimmy Bower, play guitar.
Philip H. Anselmo, lead vocalist for the badass SuperJoint Ritual.
Yeah. Joe Fazzio, and I play the drums.
All right, very good. All right. All right, so I want you to think back to the first time you heard a real heavy band.
First time I heard a heavy band?
Yeah. First time you heard heavy metal music.
I was a young
probably Kiss, man.
baby. You know, I was a shrimp, 2 years old, maybe 3. And I lived in the French Quarter with my parents, and they were pretty hippied out people, and there's always people stopping by and this and that, and smoking dope and all kind of shit. And in the background, they always had everything from Janis Joplin to Led Zeppelin to the Beatles to whatever. But I believe Black Sabbath was in that mix, and so was Jethro Tull. And and that is clearly and obviously the very first remnants of heavy metal that were given to the young brain, the sponge I had. Anybody else?
Well, let me continue with you on that. What was your reaction to that?
Wait, one second.
So what was your reaction to it? In which how did it affect you? Was it something you automatically loved it?
I adored it, and the more they played it, the more enveloped I became into the music, and I knew every word, or every word I thought I knew. You know, at the time I was a shrimp, you know, a toddler barely, you know. And to this day, I'll be searching through Beatle records and stumble across a song that I can completely remember adoring as a child, when my folks would be, you know, doing their own thing. They were young as well, and, you know, I understand that completely.
Thinking about?
I'll let y'all know, from a lower thing for me to look into, it makes my eyes look crossed, and I don't like it at all.
Oh, how we wanna?
Just either straight on or up higher for me to.
Oh, good.
The first time I heard heavy music, like heavy music, you know, I got turned on to the Beatles too, but I mean, later on I was in like summer camp, and I heard Angus Young's guitar sound, and it freaked me out. You know, I mean, it just, you know, but I had already heard Kiss, and I had heard Zeppelin and stuff like that, but Angus, I don't know, it just, this guy Teddy turned me on to it. He brought a jam box to summer camp, and it was just like from 10 feet away, and it was like Dirty Deeds, and it like to kill me. It, you know, it knocked me down. You know, it changed my life that day. You know, I never knew a guitar could sound like that until that day. I was like 10. You know, it completely freaked me out. So, yeah, there's my story.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing how you really remember when you first got introduced.
No doubt.
Mine would be Kiss, you know, and I can remember having a Star Wars lightsaber, you know, and that was our guitar, and charging a nickel in the neighborhood, and me and two of my other friends would play to an 8-track, you know, and
Like air guitar.
Yeah, we liked air guitar, and you know, and like one guy would act like he was singing and all, you know, our parents would come and see us, and that was it, you know, but But I knew from a long when I first heard Kiss, I freaked out. You know, that was the point when and then from then on, I just ventured on from then. You know.
So you were, so Kiss was your first big band.
Big influence.
Tell me some stories of Kiss experience while you were still a kid, not when not after you got to meet him that later on.
Staring at Kiss Alive 2, man. Pictures of Gene's face staring at Kiss Alive 1, wondering what it would be like to be there, you know? I mean, it's just like both of those records, and the impact of them were just, to me, those were important records to me, you know? And I got them both fucking for Easter one year or something. And I just remember studying the artwork and just remembering how cool everything was, you know, the whole atmosphere, the crowd and everything. It just seemed like something that would be fun, you know.
And Kiss was one of those bands that you could always count on them. For a while there, they were putting out 2 records a year. Like Destroyer and Rock and Roll Over came out the same year, and then after that, Love Gun and
Hotter Than Hell.
No, Hotter Than Hell was 72. Anyway, maybe I'm screwing it up a little. However, after that, shortly after that, they released Kiss Alive 2, and it contained this entire brand new repertoire of songs. And on side 4 they did a bunch of cover songs and this and that, but for 3 sides of that particular LP, it was a journey through a badass Kiss concert, and this packaging that they had for that particular album, it opened up into this, they were on these platforms like 15 feet off of the stage, and Peter Criss was even higher with the cats on the oriental looking cats on his drum riser, and he was at least 20 feet in the air, and fire just shooting up, and it's just like one of the most amazing Kiss pictures ever taken. And when you're a kid and you're staring at that and you're listening to them play and there's explosions and shit in the background, you're freaking out. And Ace Frehley's guitar solo, Peter Criss's drum solo, all that stuff, you know, became common sense, you know. You absolutely became to know every beat and every lick, you know, and that is music, real music at its finest, stuff that you can just remember. And in the same time as Kiss, for me, was Peter Frampton, and the Comes Alive record affected me the same way. I knew every second of that album because his guitar playing, his vocals reminded me quite a bit of Paul Stanley's from Kisses at the time, but the lead guitar work on that album is so memorable, it's unbelievable. And Ace Frehley from Kiss had the same type of lead work. It was all shit that stuck in your mind.